Today we're going to be doing the easiest smoked pulled pork you can make. The reason I'm putting an emphasis on making this as simple as possible is because we're doing a test run for something new. Over the past few days, I've been like a mad scientist trying to nail down the perfect pork rub because we're getting ready to start making our own rubs. After 3 iterations, I think I finally have the perfect blend, and we're going to really use this as an opportunity to see how good it is on this meat. At the end of the day, I want to know how good this rub does on pork. So with that being said, let's dive into this. What we have here is a standard bone-in pork butt. It's also called a pork shoulder. This is pretty much the standard whenever you're doing pulled pork. We are going to hit this with some mustard. That's going to act as a binder. It's not going to add hardly any flavor at all. It's really going to allow for the rub to stick to the meat without having to actually get in there and actually push it down into it. The best way to do this, in my opinion, is in a pan. So just a thin layer of mustard all over. All right, here's Crove Pork Rub number 3. This is the one I think is gonna be the winner. I really want y'all's help in figuring out the names of these rubs. We're gonna have 4 to start out with. We're gonna have a beef, a pork, a poultry, and then probably some sort of like a Mexican blend, because I do a lot of nachos and tacos and things like that. So help me come up with some cool names for all these rubs, and I want y'all to be a part of the entire process. So we're gonna apply this really liberally. We want plenty of it on there. All right, this thing is rubbed down really well. I'm gonna cover this with some plastic wrap or aluminum foil. I'm gonna put it in the fridge because we do have about 5 hours till this is gonna hit the pit. With that being said, we do wanna pull it out at least an hour before we put it on the smoker so that it can come to room temperature before we get it on there. You don't wanna put cold or frozen piece of meat on the smoker. It's not gonna cook as evenly as you'd like for it to. So, all right, so it's 8 o'clock. This thing has been sitting in this rub for about 4 hours. It's starting to sweat, which is great. We just got the smoker ready. It's set at 225 degrees. We're gonna let this go all night long. First, let's give it some more of this rub. All right, let's go to the smoker. Okay, so we've got our Traeger Ironwood 885 set to 225 degrees, and we've got super smoke mode on. We're gonna set this pork shoulder on the grates and add the temperature probe into the center of the meat. Just make sure that it's not right by the bone. We're not doing anything special to this shoulder. We're not even gonna spritz it like we normally would. In fact, I'm gonna monitor the temperature of the pit and the shoulder from my bed through the Traeger app. If you do this, just make sure that your smoker isn't near anything else so there isn't any kind of fire hazard, just in case something goes wrong. When we wake up in the morning, we're gonna check the temp and then we're gonna wrap it up. I typically like to use an aluminum pan when I wrap it, but I was out, so I wrapped it really tight in aluminum foil. Every shoulder is going to take a different amount of time to finish, and a good rule of thumb is about 1 to 1.5 hours per pound of meat. This one probably smoked for about 15 hours. Sometimes you can be done much quicker than that, and sometimes it's going to take longer on the same size shoulder. All right, so our probe is now at 199 degrees. We're looking for 200, and we're really not even necessarily going just for the temperature. You really need to be able to feel it, and we're going to take a probe. And once that probe feels like it goes in like it's going through warm butter, there's no resistance in the meat, that's when it's done. And the most important part from here on out is to let this thing rest for, I'm probably gonna let it go for 2 or 3 hours. You can probably get away with like an hour. The longer you can let this rest, the better it's gonna be. So we're gonna take this off, we're gonna put it in a cooler, wrap it up with some towels, and we're gonna come back and check on it in about 3 hours. All right, so we started this entire process about 24 hours ago. That's when we started to rub it down. We've let this rest for about 3.5 hours. Now let's get it out here and let's see what we've got. Oh yeah. The best way to tell how tender your shoulder is gonna be is by removing the bone. If this is done correctly, the bone's gonna easily pull out with no meat attached to it, and it's gonna look something like this. From there, we're gonna pull this pork. You can use meat claws, a mixer, or just do like I did and use your hands. I also recommend doing this in a pan. This allows for the pulled meat to reabsorb some of that liquid that was lost during the cook. This is amazing. Just falls apart. Look at that smoke ring. Let's go over here and get some of this money muscle. The money muscle is on the end opposite of the bone. It's the most tender part of the shoulder, and this is what wins you money in competitions. So be sure to save some of that for yourself. Look at how juicy that is. We sprinkled some more rub on all this pulled meat and then we mixed it up. But now it's time to decide what to do with all this barbecue. And if you know me at all, you know we're going to make some nachos. I'm sure we're going to make some more delicious recipes with all this leftover barbecue over the next few days, so be sure to subscribe to our channel. We're posting new videos each week, and your support helps us so much. Now let's start on these nachos. We have our pot here, and we're going to start by layering in the ingredients backwards. We started with the toppings like pico de gallo and then our pulled pork. Then we added some queso and some fresh homemade tortilla chips. Then we repeated this process to make different layers in the pot. This allows for the perfect toppings to chip ratio. Then we took our plate and gave it a flip to reveal the perfect barbecue nachos. These are barbecue nachos, so let's add some barbecue sauce. Look at that. These might be the best nachos I've ever made. These nachos were outstanding. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to our channel. Let us know what you want to see us cook next, and thanks for watching.